Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Social and Community Enterprise Constituencies webinar entitled Social Entrepreneurship SDG Platforms Towards Building Back Fairer in Asia and the Pacific. Welcome to the participants. I think most of you are part of constituencies of the Asia-Pacific People's Forum. And this webinar is part of that process where the Asia-Pacific People's Forum meets to discuss ways in terms of engaging governments and the UN system in relation to advancing the Sustainable Development Goals and how we are adjusting that process given the pandemic. So this afternoon, the Social and Community Enterprise Constituency of the Asia-Pacific People's Forum is actually having this webinar to explain the 5 platforms, the Social Entrepreneurship SDG platforms that we actually launched during the Social Enterprise Advocacy and Leveraging Conference that we had in preparation for the Asia-Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development, which was in September 16 to 17, 2020. And I know that some of you were there, but I think most of you might have missed that conference. And now is the time for us to explain the platforms and to see how we, the Social and Community Enterprise Constituency, can actually work with the different constituencies of the Regional Civil Society Engagement Mechanism to advance the Sustainable Development Goals given the much changed situation given the pandemic. So this afternoon, there are 5 platforms that we will be presenting. The first is the We Live Food platform. The second is the Health for All platform. The third is a Decent Work for All in Sustainable Value Chains. The fourth is the Rural Revitalization, Youth and Social Entrepreneurship. And last but not the least is the Technological Innovations for Sustainable Development. Our speaker for the We Live Food platform is actually not available because of a conflicting schedule. And so for that platform, I will be taking her place, no? Because as you know, by the way, I am Lisa Dacanay. I am the president of the Institute for Social Entrepreneurship in Asia and co-convener of the Social and Community Enterprise Constituency of the Asia-Pacific Regional Civil Society Engagement Mechanism. So without much ado, I would be making the presentation on the We Live Food platform. And then we shall be giving an opportunity for all our other speakers to do the same for their platforms. And then at the end, we shall be having an open forum. Please feel free to write your questions through the chat box. And we will also be allowing you to actually ask questions directly at the end of all the presentations. So the first platform that we will be, that we are presenting is the multi-stakeholder platform on We Live Food in AVCs. Next slide, please. The We Live Food in AVCs actually stands for Women's Empowerment, Livelihood, and Food in Agricultural Value Chains. No? And I'd like to share with you how it evolved and to share with you some features of the We Live Food platform in terms of objectives, plans, and organization so that you may be able to discern how you may be able to interact with us through this platform. Let me start by sharing with you some stories of change among small producers. Next slide, please. One story of change that I'd like to share with you is that of Imelda Cervantes of the Philippines. She used to be an assetless agricultural worker, but now she's an entrepreneurial farmer leader of the Negros Organic Fair Trade Association. This was organized by the Alter Trade Foundation as partners in the organic Muscovado sugar value chain and beyond. They're a federation of associations of agrarian reform beneficiaries that became suppliers of organic sugar, as well as vehicles for crop and income diversification and community development. And this federation of small producers that used to be assetless agricultural workers who are now leaders and members of NOFTA now own 60% of NOFTA Fair Trade House, which is the marketing arm of the social enterprise system that Alter Trade Foundation and NOFTA set up. So from subhuman conditions of hunger Imelda's household has achieved food security and has moved out of poverty, like most of NOFTA's member households. Another story that I'd like to share with you is that in Indonesia. Wasti, next slide please. Wasti used to be a powerless muscle stripper, but she's now the chairperson of the ISM Sinar Abadi Cooperative. The ISM Sinar Abadi Cooperative was organized by KMM, which is a subsidiary of Dompet Duafa Foundation. And they are, ISM Sinar Abadi Cooperative serves as a vehicle for enabling assetless muscle strippers to become owners of the means of production for muscles. And the ISM Sinar Abadi Cooperative is also a vehicle for enabling muscle strippers to undertake semi-processing and trading of green muscles. So that in a matter of 2 years, a dramatic transformation happened with Wasti and the women she leads, where she used to be a mustahik, meaning a receiver of alms or zakat. And now she has become a muzaki, who's a giver of zakat. The third story for change I'd like to share with you, next slide please, is that of Juanita Mamo in the Philippines again. And Juanita Mamo was a voiceless indigenous woman in a male-dominated tribe. But now she's the elected chairperson of the Council of Elders of the Kulaman Manobo Dulangan organization. KMDO is a partner indigenous peoples organization of TRICOM, an NGO, a non-government organization in Mindanao, and the Sultan Kudarat Coffee Ventures, which they set up. And KMDO, TRICOM, and the Sultan Kudarat Coffee Ventures are engaged in the production, processing, and marketing of Kape Dulangan, their own brand of coffee, to a growing local market as part of their ancestral domain development plan. So SKCBI is one among the more than 50 community-based coffee enterprises comprising the Philippine Coffee Alliance, led and assisted by Bota Central, with their Coffee for Life program. Next slide, please. I presented to you these 3 stories for change because I wanted to show that different small producers, from the landless agricultural worker turned entrepreneurial farmer, to the mussel stripper, who is now an owner of the means of production of mussels, and an indigenous woman who used to be voiceless in a male-dominated tribe, how they've transformed themselves, over time. And these stories are actually from the stories of 8 best practices of social enterprises and inclusive businesses in agricultural value chains in ASEAN, which ISEA studied way back in 2015 through a project that we actually which was supported by Oxfam and the Swedish Embassy in Bangkok. And this project, the Gracie project, which actually was, to which this study was a part of, was a partnership project with not only ISEA, but CSIP in Vietnam, Change Fusion in Thailand, Dompet Duafa and Binaswadaya in Indonesia. And we studied 8 best practices of social enterprises and inclusive businesses in agricultural value chains in ASEAN, and how these best practices have changed the lives of women and men small-scale producers over time. And the 3 stories that I shared with you are actually part of the impact that have been done by 3 of the case studies that we did. And out of this project, the research on best practices of social enterprises and inclusive businesses in agricultural value chains resulted in a set of insights. Next slide, please. Where we actually synthesized these insights into a set of benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains. These are actually benchmarks that reflect the factors for success, for how these stories of transformation happened, how women and men small-scale producers were empowered over time to actually become actors in their own development and to move out of poverty. And so these benchmarks are aspirational standards as they raise the bar on how how enterprises and other stakeholders in agricultural value chains could sustainably transform the lives of women and men small-scale producers, their households, and their communities. It's also a pathway to sustainability, as they're meant to be guideposts among enterprises and other stakeholders in aspiring to make a meaningful contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals. And may I just present to you the elements of these benchmarks? There's not much time for us to do this. Next slide, please. But the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains has 8 elements. And the first being appropriate technology and community-based and oriented innovations, a more substantive share of value created over time going to the women and men small-scale producers because they have moved up the value chain. They're not only small producers of raw materials, but they are processing and marketing their own products and their own brands. And then food security and resilience is the third element. The fourth element is the empowerment of small producers. The fifth is assisting small producers to become stewards and stakeholders of sustainable consumption and production. The sixth benchmark is about the combination of transactional and transformational services that are provided to the small producers so that they can actually not only become stakeholders in the social enterprises and inclusive businesses, but they actually are able to manage their own lives as well, make decisions for their own communities. And then the seventh is women's participation and empowerment. And then the eighth element is measurable outcomes of transformation. Anyway, these benchmarks are actually the insights that we culled from the best practices, which are the factors for success for making a significant impact on women and men small-scale producers in agricultural value chains so that they move out of poverty and they actually become actors in their own development. So the benchmarks have been transformed into a set of scorecards, and these scorecards are actually being used as planning, monitoring, evaluation, and learning tools, no? As I will explain. No? So the reason why I went through this process of explaining the stories of change and the benchmarks is because those are what inspired the setting up of the Women's Empowerment, Livelihoods, and Food in Agricultural Value Chains platform, no? The We Live Food platform. In terms of objectives and plans, the We Live Food platform is a learning exchange and building. The first objective is learning exchange and building a community of practice. As I was explaining, action consulting is something that we're doing with social enterprises, small and medium enterprises, corporations, and agricultural value chain program holders so that the scorecards can be used as a tool for learning, planning, evaluation, and monitoring of their impact on women and men small-scale producers. And of course, we also have launched a We Live Food webpage, and we are going to be launching a webinar series soon so that we can actually share with you the stories of change that are happening in agricultural value chains where these benchmarks are being implemented. The second objective of We Live Food platform is actually projecting collective impact. So we are going to be using the benchmark scorecards as well as linking them to the 9 SDGs linked to pandemic recovery in order for us to be showing the collective impact of those who are coming into the platform, advancing the benchmarks. And then the third objective of the We Live Food platform is engaging governments. And in this respect, we are engaging ASEAN as well as local national governments such as the Philippines, for example, where we are trying to enshrine a set of guidelines that would enable the practice of the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's empowerment in agricultural value chains. The last objective of the We Live Food platform is partnership building and cross-sectoral collaboration. And towards this end, we're actually focused on Southeast Asia. We started our focus in Southeast Asia, but we actually are wanting to expand to in ASEAN, of course, but also in South Asia and the Pacific. We're hoping to build an ICT infrastructure where the We Live Food platform can have a more substantive presence in the web, and we can have interactive learning sessions. And then we would also be doing resource mobilization to sustain the platform. And in collaboration with other platforms, we're actually setting up 2 funds, the COVID-19 Serve Fund, which is which is going to help the secretariat expenses of the platforms, and the Social Enterprise Recovery Fund, which will actually assist in the recovery of social enterprises towards building back fairer, no? And this is in collaboration with the other platforms. And just so we are able to share with you these different platforms, the 4 objectives actually that I've shared with you are common to all the platforms, no? So next slide, please. In terms of organization, the We Live Food platform will have as stakeholders, or has as stakeholders, practitioners, enablers, and advocates. So the organizing committee is now chaired by the Institute for Social Entrepreneurship for Asia. And the co-conveners are Trubus Binaswadaya and the Center for Social Initiatives Promotion in Vietnam. And then the key stakeholders include Dompet Duaca in Indonesia, the Philippine Coffee Alliance and Bota Central in the Philippines, Alter Trade Foundation also in the Philippines, together with the Negros Organic and Fair Trade Association, Gandang Kalikasan and Human Nature is also part of the platform, the Philippine Business for Social Progress. In Thailand, we also have GreenNet. And lastly, we also have Oxfam, which is an international organization working with us. So this is our structure. We are still an organizing committee because we are still in the process of inviting constituents to this platform. So any organization who becomes a practitioner, an enabler, or an advocate of the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains is actually invited to become a part of this platform. We shall be conducting webinars where we will be explaining the benchmarks further. And if you're interested, please sign up so that we can actually get in touch with you. So thank you very much. I think that ends the presentation of the We Live Food platform. So as I said, that is the first platform that we launched during our September 16 to 17 Social Enterprise Advocacy and Leveraging Conference. And in addition to that, we also launched or presented 4 other platforms. No? So We Live Food is focused on women's empowerment, livelihood, and food in agricultural value chains. No? So, and using the benchmarks as benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's empowerment as actually a framework, no, for the platform to promote its practices, as well as enabling policies that would assist the practice of the benchmarks. No? So at this point, we now move to the second platform that we actually presented during the Social Enterprise Advocacy and Leveraging Conference. And this platform is the Health for All platform. And making the presentation for this platform is Haryo Majopahit, who is actually from Dompet Duaca. Dompet Duaca has a very active community-based health program and has a set of hospitals that are actually serving the poor in Indonesia. So without much ado, I would like to call on Haryo Majopahit in order for him to present the Health for All platform. Haryo?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa, for the opportunity to share the platform. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Haryo Majopahit, so you can call me Haryo or Mojo if you want. I'm from Indonesia. My organization is Dompet Duaca. So I will share my presentation here. Okay. So Dompet Duaca is one of conveners during the SEAL conference with other organizations. We try to find a common ground to do social enterprises in healthcare. And with Dompet Duaca, we have Dr. Susan Balingit from AP-RCEM and also from Suhan Trust or Suhan Foundation from India. So we have like 3 countries. We have Dr. Susan from the Philippines. We have Suhan Trust from India and also Dompet Duaca from Indonesia. So, but this is like a new platform. And then we still in the initial stage of the platform. But we will explain to you and discuss some of our common ground in doing social enterprises in healthcare. So as we know that, maybe healthcare, like a quality healthcare is very limited in some part of the world. According to the statistic, so you can see we have like more than 400 million people, they have no access to essential health service. And I think about 6% people in the developing countries, and Indonesia is a part of that. So like they will be poor, or they will fall down to the poverty if if they sick, and they need to spend a lot of money to cover their healthcare. So this is what we believe, that sometimes like poverty or poor people, they have no access to health. So because they have no access to healthcare, so in some reasons, like health or healthy body is an asset. So if you are sick and then you are not educated well, and you have no asset, you have no money, you have no asset that will give you some income, so you will be have low productivity, and low productivity will lead to low income. And then because you have low income, so you have no money to cover your healthcare expenses, you have no money to buy food, you have no money to go to school, and then, that will be the vicious circle of poverty. And I think that if you have no money, you have no job, and you have no spiritual values, so you will be easily fell down to crime. And then because you are committed to a crime, so you will be in prison, and you will leave your family in the poverty as well. So that's why we think that healthcare is very important, especially for the poor, or people who have no access to healthcare. So our agenda is how we can, make some programs and businesses that, people can have access to healthcare, education, economic resources, and also to the spiritual or religious values. So they will become productive. So this is our concept of philanthropreneurship, because we are like a foundation, and in another part we are is social enterprise. So we have like two level. So we have the philanthropy program in one level, and the second level is our social enterprises. So we fund our philanthropy program with alms or zakat, because mostly of Indonesian are Muslim, and then we accept donation, we accept grants, we accept gifts. So with that philanthropic funds, we can build a community-based health programs, especially for promotive and preventive. And then we try not only giving some basic healthcare services, but also we try to encourage them to have a gardening or farming project in the community. So that that will let them to have their own food, and maybe that will become a healthy food, and also not only food, but some traditional medicine they can produce on the gardening or the farming project. And after that, we have the second stage. The second stage is the social enterprise, because in Indonesia, we have we manage endowment fund as well. And we make this endowment fund as initial working capital for our social enterprise. And then we invite other investor or business partners to make, some clinics, to make some hospital. So, and all the profit will goes to our philanthropy program as well. So that's why we call this as philanthropreneurship, because this is not only entrepreneurship, but we have the philanthropic aspect on our activities. And this is our healthcare models. So mostly we have like this triangle, because we want to open access, we want to see the economic growth, and also we want to see we want to see justice in our community and our society. That's why we have, some open access program. So we have economic empowerment program, and also we have advocacy works. So if you see on the left side, so we have a holistic wellness approach. So mostly like poor people, they have no knowledge on how to be healthy. So they just eat what they can eat. They, when they sick, they don't go to the doctor. And then when they, their house is not really clean, they have, limited access to like to clean water, so that's why firstly we approach the community, the families with holistic wellness approach. And we promote like healthy diet, how to boost like personal immunity with traditional medicine. You have to have like exercise at least like once a week, and then how we make our neighborhood clean and beautiful. So, and then, and the second stage is we try to encourage our community, our families um, to produce local food and medicine. So we give them some working capitals, some seeds, some fertilizers, and a lot of things, so they can make local and organic products. And then we try to open market if they have, a lot of harvesting. So we try to help them to sell it to the market. And also, we try to make a legal protection if, they have problem. I mean, the law problem. And I think that not everyone have privilege to have a good health. Sometimes we need to, we need like a lot of people need to go to hospital or clinics. So that's why we get some of insurance program, both from the private insurance and also the government insurance in Indonesia or BPJS. And also we use some philanthropic funds to cover the health expenses as well. So if you're poor and you have no insurance from the private insurance, or you have no insurance from the government, like our organization will cover the health expenses with the philanthropic funds. So this is area of services. So the area of services, the first one is promotive, how we promote the healthy living to the communities, and also how to prevent disease as a community. And then if they still sick, so we go to our curative activities. So they can go to our clinics, or they can go to our hospitals. And this is some pillars or some principles of our health for all. The first one is holistic wellness, and then community empowerment, and also the blended finance. And also on the product itself, so the intervention is we make a lot of community-based health station. Sometimes, people in remote areas, they have no access, or like they need to have a long trip or long long distance to go to health facilities. So that's why we have community-based health station. So our nurse, our midwives, and our doctors will go to some remote areas in Indonesia, and the community will build a community-based health station. And also, this community-based health station, they will try to encourage the community to make a gardening or farming project on the land. Maybe they have like a small land or like a community-based land. So we can rent the land, and also we can borrow the land to to do some gardening or farming project. And then we also have a clinic and hospital. So I think that we have a community-based health station in each communities, and also this community-based health station will send like sick people to our clinics and hospital. So this is yeah, we believe that there is still a gap between the public health policy and the reality in the ground. So that's why we want to fulfill this gap, so we can provide universal healthcare for everyone, for every person, for every individuals in Indonesia. And I think that will cover 4 elements in the SDGs. The first one is the zero hunger. The second one is the good health and well-being. And the third is the gender equality, because most of the activists of our community gardening or farming project is women. And also we try to provide clean water and good sanitation in the communities. So this is our clinics and activities in Indonesia, and also our hospitals. So we cover, we have like 22 clinics and 8 hospitals across Indonesia. So this is our primary clinic. So you can see on your screen. So we have like floating clinics. This floating clinic, because Indonesia is an archipelago, so a lot of people like live in small islands. So these floating clinics will go from one island to other island, like every week, once a week. So so they can like monitor the health condition of some residents in the islands. And also you can see below the floating clinics, we have like a motorcycle, like our nurse, our doctors, they will go to some remote areas with these motorcycles. So they can, provide, because sometimes, the infrastructure in Indonesia is not quite good. So, even, we cannot go through the road. So we have to do off-road, to reach some of our, beneficiaries or our clients. And this is some of our clinics in Indonesia, and this is our hospital. So we have eye hospital, we have, some endowment-based fund hospital. So yeah, this is the last slide. I think this is about the holistic wellness. This is Ayurvedic proverb. When diet is wrong, medicine is no use. When diet is correct, medicine is no need. I think that's all from Health for All platform. Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Hario. That was a very comprehensive presentation, starting with what Dompet Duafa is actually doing with their community-based health approach, while also coupling it with hospitals for the poor. I actually had the benefit of visiting one of the hospitals of Dompet Duafa, and the poor are actually anyone who goes to a hospital in Dompet Duafa Hospital is admitted without questions, right? They're treated first, and during the exit interview, that's the time they decide whether they're poor or not. If they're poor, they don't pay anything. So it's partly covered by the insurance coming from government, but the rest is from philanthropic funds that Dompet Wapa is actually talking about. That's the reason why they call it blended financing. So I just wanted to share with you that that additional point so that you're you better appreciate what Hario was talking about when he talked about blended financing for hospitals. So thank you again, Hario. We now go to the third platform. The third platform is the Rural Revitalization Youth and Social Entrepreneurship Platform. And this is led by Sources of Action, or the Rural Reconstruction Movement, as part of the Rural Reconstruction Movement in China. May I now call on Lan Ying Sang. Lan Ying? Yes, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. Hello, Lisa. And I'm representing the group that we initiate this platform, actually including the PRM, IAR, and RR Nepal, and also Change Fusion from Thailand and Dan Foundation from India. So will I show my PPT, or Gomer will be, or I can share my PPT by myself?
Yes, you can share your screen, Ms. Lanying.
Okay. Okay, can you see my PPT?
Yes, Ms. Lanying.
Okay, so so I will share about this initiative called Rural Reconstruction Social Enterprise and Youth and Social Enterprise. So first, I would explain why we talk about rural. So the first slide shows actually everybody, when we see these slides, we can feel about in the past a decade or 3 decades or 6 decades, the economic development bring the impact to the rural areas is kind of distraction to the rural areas, and people live in the rural areas experience the poverty, also the ecological degradation, and also overall global climate change impact on the agriculture and their life. But most importantly, if we see this causes of this kind of destruction of rural areas, is because when we too much emphasize on urbanization and industrialization and commercial development, it caused the outflow of 3 key elements from the rural areas. First, I think not only China, but also all over Asia experienced most of the young people, the youth, are migrating to the cities for looking for a good job, for a good living, and well paid. But also the rural area, the natural resources in the rural areas are used for the urbanization or for the industrial development, rather than for agriculture, which produce the stable food for all of us. And also the capitals, even the funds accumulated by the rural populations are through the savings are using for other urban development rather than for the rural areas. But if we look at is it full screen? When I go to the second page, yeah. Third page. So if we look at
Sorry, Ms. Lanying,
history,
can you go on full screen?
Is it full screen?
No, not yet. Can you go on full screen, please?
Okay, full screen.
It's at the bottom of the screen.
Bottom.
Yeah, it's beside 67%. So if you click the icon beside 67%, it will become full screen. The bottom right side of your screen, please.
Oh, okay, okay, I saw it.
Yes. No, the other one, please.
other one?
The icon beside 100 to your left.
To the left.
To the left of 100, please.
Oh.
You know where you clicked 100 a while ago?
Oh. Sorry.
It's at the bottom, Lenying.
Bottom.
Yeah. You will see 100, and to the left of 100 there is an icon.
Somebody can help.
If you can send, it's okay. If you can send me your presentation.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, somebody can distant control, but I can continue share. Can you see some of the slides or not all of them? None of them.
We can see it actually.
Okay. So this picture shows that actually Asia with quite 4.5 billion people, and we are 60% of world population. But among this 60% of world population, I think at least half of it depends on agricultural production living in the rural areas. So rice is dominant staple food for all of us, but also our rice culture are integrated very much with our living styles and a spiritual dimension of our life, and even including our housing, clothing, all these things. But on the right side, if you look at these signs, you would feel that is a Chinese character means rural. So you would say it looks like two persons sit together and eat, drink together, enjoy the food they produced. So this is the traditional rural life that they live in the rural areas. So they live with, they produce their food and also produce the food for the outside people, but they enjoy their life. They protect the natural resources for continued production, but also maintaining harmony with the environment. Look at their housing is very consistent with the natures, built along the hills, built along the rivers. So they find a way to live ecologically sound and produce their own food. So with the 5,000 years of farming, this long history, they're not only find a way or develop their wisdom to live within the environment where they are, but also develop their own social norms and self-governing system. So dealing with the nature, dealing with their community, dealing with the environment. And they have their own rationality for their production, for their housing, for their living styles, but also collectively, they also have their production system, like mutual help and farming time. But when they are facing risk, like a pandemic we are facing, rural communities know how to protect themselves by working together to monitor the people going outside, people coming inside. So they have their own rationale and system to manage their own life. Next. And this is the rural areas, but as we are experiencing the industrialization, urbanization, and the rural space have been squeezed or depressed. As I said, outflow of the labor, capitals, and land, natural resources for other purposes, rather than to support the rural development. And I think, speaking from China's experience, in the past 100 years, we have been experienced various level of destruction of the rural areas. But we also see the important foundation of rural areas for our life, for our own sustainability and community sustainability, and also for our larger size. So there are several group of leaders, elite, trying to protect the rural areas by rebuilding the rural areas. So in China, there's a 3 waves of rural construction in the past 100 years. So one is because of the local elites before 1994. And the other wave is the scholars, academias, initiated rural construction in the 1920s to 40s. But at the beginning of this century, it is the 3rd wave that we are trying to do the rural reconstruction for sustainability. Next slide. So the first initiative, actually, there's 2 important figures, and they are considered to be the first social entrepreneurship, first social entrepreneurs in China. So one is Zhang Jian in the earlier beginning of the last century. And he returned from official's position back to his hometowns and focused on the village development by doing industrial, textile industry, and all the generate profit of the industry invested for the rural education, rural health, and all the social integrated social development in the areas. And another figure is Lu Zuofu. He also did experiment and one of the township in Beibei. So he trying to do beautification of the rural areas and also build libraries, parks for people's happy life. So these 2 important figures are considered the first group of social entrepreneurs in China. And we respect their philosophic principles is focusing on the rural village level and focus on the people for the integrated development, not only emphasize on economics, but also social and education as well. And another 2, as I said, the second wave it was initiated by some overseas scholars, Chinese scholars, but also the Chinese traditional cultural studies scholars. So the overseas scholars is Dr. Y.C. James Yan, and he started with mass education and expanded to the health, to livelihood, to self-governance. And his experience has been promoted or shared in the Asia, like in the Philippines. So now there's a PRM, and PRM expanded his fourfold program to including environmental development. And further, there's also in Thailand, India, Nepal. And another one is Liang Shuming. He looked at the Chinese traditions, which looking at the cultural-based development for self-governance. So he established schools for people to learn the traditions, cultivate the inner strengths for outer actions for the community self-governing. So we also consider these 2 pioneers. There's many other more are our models for today's rural construction. So the 3rd wave is led by the contemporary professor, scholar Wen Tiejun. So he mobilized youth to do rural, to help to support rural development. So we can see, we learn from the history how the local elite developed the social enterprise for the local development. So what we said, localization to build the resilience of the local communities. But we also see the local scholars like Liang Shuming and Yan Yangchu to really start with education, to cultivate the inner strengths and the capabilities to empower the rural communities to find their own way for sustainability. And Professor Wen is looking at the youth who can play the key role to bridging the urban and rural development. As now we are seeing, we are experiencing urban drastic development, but rural areas is left behind. But urban and rural relations is more like flowers. The roots is in the rural areas, and flowers in like in the cities. If the roots have not health, the flowers cannot blossom. So this is kind of a mutual, how we can build a mutual understanding, mutual trust, and mutual support for rural revitalization. And youth will play a critical role. So in the past, build on the past experience, and we also started working with Philippines and Thailand, looking at youth who are trying to back to their hometowns to help the rural reconstruction. So there's a trend or a wave of the younger generations searching for a kind of new life. And that's the platform that we want to create for the young people to exchange their experience. So this slide shows what we have done with the Philippines and Thailand, and the youth who are working, Chinese youth go to the rural areas of the Philippines and Thailand, experience their local culture, how the local people live in a sustainable life, how they maintain their traditional wisdom through their revitalize their culture, and how they look at the building linkage with the urban through marketing their organic food. So this exchange will strengthen the youth who will be back, who have been back to the rural areas to continue their efforts. And the platform will create it also to have more youth to join on this platform, to share the experience, learn from each other. So that's why we propose this platform will broaden the discourse on rural reconstruction and the social entrepreneurship and youth in Asia. We share the, although we have a different kind of a political system or ethnicity or religions, but I think we are facing the same problem and challenge of kind of destruction, all the development destruction of the rural areas. So we hope by doing the rural revitalization and develop the rural enterprise in the rural areas, traditionally rural areas with all sorts of industry to support, to have their circular economy. So we should try to revive this, and through the youth intervention, innovation, to do that. So looking at these three dimensions, we discuss about gradually creating this youth platform, and build on what we have done, the youth exchange program, to generate more cases of experience sharing, and further to look at how the social enterprise could be innovatively developed with the rural revitalization and the urban-rural integration linkage. And this platform could provide a certain level of support. So the aim, of course, linking with the SDGs, we hope that with our kind of learning exchange and Asia level through this platform, we could really capture the needs, the real needs of the youth, and develop to do the policy and advocacy in the Asia regions, and also do some actual projects for the rural revitalization. And this platform will be a venue for sharing knowledge, and also produce knowledge built on our concrete experience and cases in Asia. So ultimately, we hope that the rural community will be benefited, and rural sustainability could be enhanced and strengthened. And as we know that in the past, in the history, rural communities is a very resilient, coping with the disasters, or coping with kind of unexpected emergencies like disease, pandemic. So that's our platform aim to do. So so cultural exchange and studies on, so what we can start with is cultural exchange and study of the RR in different countries, and also share the experience on food production, storage, linking with food security and food safety for local communities as well as for the urban residents. And social enterprise development could help bridging the needs between urban and rural. So what we call it, and urbans go to the rural areas, but rural products could market it to the cities through our platform or exchange or the marketing arms to support the smallholder farmers and organic farmers. And also mobilize the youth, because youth is open for new technologies, especially for marketing using the digital platform, and they could really help the rural areas and educate the urban residents to understand the importance of rural areas, so it can develop a synergy to support rural revitalization. So that's our ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lan Ying, for that historical presentation. And actually, the problem of aging farmers, is something that we are all facing in many of our countries, and even in agricultural value chain development, which is what we were discussing about in the first platform. The problem of aging farmers is actually a very important issue, and we're hoping that the Rural Revitalization Youth and Social Entrepreneurship platform could work hand in hand with the first platform on the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains to really revitalize the rural areas. So we actually have a question from the chat box about how we can encourage the youth to go back to the rural areas. And as Lan Ying was explaining, social enterprises will be a key. They are actually very important, a very important attracting feature of the youth, because it's not just production of agricultural products, but really social enterprises in the whole value chain. Plus, as Lan Ying was pointing out, digital technology, the use of digital technology is something that the youth are very excited about. But we can have that in the open forum, maybe Lan Ying later. And maybe you can look at the chat box for some of the questions that arose from your discussion. Thank you. And now we go to the fourth platform. For the fourth platform, we actually have two speakers because the next platform is about a decent work for all in sustainable value chains. And this is actually the complementary platform also to the first platform on agricultural value chains, because this is now dealing with non-agricultural value chains, providing sustainable livelihoods or decent work in non-agricultural value chains. And we actually have two presenters. The first presenter is going to be making a presentation on gender just skills, education for decent work. And she's from ASBE. And then the other presentation will be on decent work for all in the crafts subsector, from the World Fair Trade Organization Asia. So without much ado, I'd like to first call on Thea Soriano from, I'd like to first call on Jerome Montemayor from World Fair Trade Organization Asia to make his presentation on decent work for all in the crafts subsector. Jerome?
Hi, Lisa. Let me just share my screen. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to share with you what we presented in the previous SEAL conference, and just maybe interject some examples of earlier identified decent work for all in sustainable value chains within the members of the World Fair Trade Organization Asia, that represents the non-food or the craft sector. So, but my presentation is more of the general the description of the platform itself, so that hopefully some of you might also, some of these also resonates with your own work and advocacies, and perhaps you may want to uh, consider collaborating or joining the effort as well. So I believe I have a few minutes to do this, so let me start. So the name of the platform is Decent Work for All in Sustainable Value Chains. So a combination of several um, things under the effort of accelerating the SDGs. But because of the COVID pandemic, uh, our work towards acceleration became like, okay, just trying to survive and uh, look forward to a more brighter future. So with that in context, the social enterprise and also the fair trade enterprise community sort of came together towards this unified call to build back better. And as we would like to uh, express it in the fair trade community, fair trade enterprises are aspiring for a build back fairer. So, but these are complementary, and they support each other, no? To build back better and build back fairer. With this impetus, no, we okay, let me just move this. It's covering my slide. Okay. Uh, the goals of the platform includes this thing, several items. Okay, so first, um, as a platform, we would like to see and showcase case studies of strong social enterprise models that already exemplifies decent work and sustainable production consumption, and gender just education, which Thea would expound on a little later, in support of social enterprise and decent work. So last conference, we already heard and seen some examples of the work of Conserve India in pursuing and and working on circular economy, repurposing and producing products out of supposedly waste materials already, but now given a new life. So, but still a lot of work needs to be done for us to find out and figure out what else are there. So the platform will also initiate and support research work related to decent work, sustainable production, and consumption. And later on, we're also interested in identifying the impacts or understanding the impact of fair trade and social enterprises uh, vis-a-vis decent work for all and sustainable value chain. And in particular, we'd like to find out how much we have impacted and contributed to uplifting and transforming the lives of the poor. Okay, so to be able to communicate this, we will be, another objective is to document best practices and cutting edge practices related to decent work, sustainable production, consumption, and gender just education. So again, a very important objective of the platform. And then we won't stop there. We intend to use, so there's a build up. So the earlier objectives now feeds into the education mechanism aspiration of the platform. So we hope to be able to use the platform as a mechanism or as a tool in order to spread the the information and practices, best practices, and to be able to uh, gain more support and to be able um to get more buy-ins for the work in promoting decent work for all and sustainable value change. Now, a leading program that we envision for the platform is the accelerator program. So we know that there are a lot of SMEs, social enterprises that are also aspiring to become fair trade enterprises, and we hope to be able to assist them in as part of the work of the platform in reaching those aspirations. Now, these are some of the immediate objectives, but future goals that we see is for the platform to be able to pursue capacity building for social enterprises and fair trade enterprises, to be able to continue to deliver and realize the decent work for all and sustainable value chains, and facilitate market access and linkages, because at the end of the day, uh, the the belief of the initial members of the platform is that to be able to sustain all this effort, we need the platform and the members of the platform to be able to convert our advocacies into resources that in turn will continue to propel the work and the objectives of the platform. So who are we inviting, or who are we targeting to become part of the platform? We're looking at social enterprises and social enterprise support organizations that are working in areas of SDG 5, SDG 8, and SDG 13. This social enterprise and their support organizations should be able to fulfill the due diligence form, which will be developed very soon, and both of them, the social enterprises and the social enterprise support organization, should be from within Asia, okay, and producing handicrafts with localized supply chains, and they should fulfill the protection guidelines for persons employed throughout the value chain. So not just the enterprise itself, but all the actors and players and stakeholders within their value chain should also adhere to the values and principles that the platform is embracing, and then expand to other industries later on, beyond crafts, beyond handicrafts. Once we have established a foothold or a traction in the handicrafts, then we can move on to other sectors. Okay. Now, the three main components that defines the work of the Decent Work for All in Sustainable Value Chains platform is information sharing, education, and community building. So again, it supports the goal and objectives to be able to document, identify and document best practices or emerging innovations on the decent work and sustainable value chains. And special mention here, but wait for Thea's presentation for details on how we will pursue the gender just skills education for decent work. And again, the Fair Trade Accelerator program, which we hope will further advance the advocacies of the platform. And who are in the driver's seat right now, as mentioned earlier by Lisa. So we are co-convening the platform together with ASBE. So WFTO Asia and ASBE are co-conveners, and we hope to excuse me. We hope to bring in more social enterprises, fair trade enterprises, and social enterprise, fair trade enterprise support organizations. So right now, as co-conveners, ASBE and WFTO Asia brings with us our membership within the region, and therefore, although I did not mention them specifically here, members of WFTO Asia and that of ASBE are the ones actively engaging the platform right now, and providing that backbone to establish and strengthen the platform so that it will be able to deliver on the objectives and goals of the platform. So again, the SDG 5 is on achieving gender equality and empower all girls and women. SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. And SDG 13, responsible production and consumption. And how can a member of the platform contribute to the work and mandate of the platform? So by joining this platform or by engaging the platform, you are co-creators. We are co-creators of the platform. It's still an evolving. Platform. So you're just in time if you want to join in firming up who we are and what we will do. And of course, we need resources to be able to pursue our work. So be part of resource development fundraising so that we would be able to pursue our work and be part of the acceleration of social enterprises in bridging them to become full-fledged fair trade enterprises. And that's it. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Jerome. And as Jerome was pointing out, and I mentioned earlier, there actually there's a second presentation on the platform on decent work for all in sustainable value chains. And may I now call on Thea Soriano from ASPE to do the second presentation of the same platform. Thea.
Thank you, Lisa. And as mentioned by Jerome, I am from the Asia South Pacific Association for Basic and Adult Education. I'm Thea Soriano, and I'm going to share our work on gender just skills education for decent work, which is under the sustainable value, which is under the platform that Jerome described earlier. So one of the things that we do in the platform is to share our experiences and practices and lessons on gender just skills education. And this is one of the lessons that I'm going to share with you. So ASBE has done a research in 2019 up to 2018 up to 2019, a research on skills education for decent work of marginalized women. In Asia Pacific, 2/3 of the illiterates are women. That's why our focus was really looking at literacy programs that are linked to skills education. And our research looked at the situations of marginalized women, those who are economically vulnerable, socially excluded, and women with physical limitation. We did this research in Indonesia, India, Vietnam, and Bangladesh. So what are the findings of this research? And I'm going to read them because later on we will find further elaboration on this in the example that I'm going to share. So one of the findings is that policies for skills training for marginalized women exist, but the implementation is not supported by gender-sensitive mechanisms. When we talk of gender-sensitive mechanisms, these are support for marginalized women so they can continue, or they have access to skills training and they can continue and complete this skills training, and the gender barriers are removed. So in the recommendations, I'm going to give more explanation on gender-sensitive mechanisms. Government, private enterprises, and to a certain extent, civil society do not have gender-specific funds for skills development for decent work. So government and private enterprises, they have skills development, but these programs are not gendered. They do not address gender inequality in the employment, in the livelihood sector. Civil society organizations, they may have literacy programs, but they do not link these literacy programs to skills development for decent work. Or they may have this skills development, but they are not really linked to decent work. So The whole idea is for gendered skills development for decent work. So that is the advocacy of ASWE. Marginalized women's participation in the skilled labor force is very low compared to men, and almost all of them are in the informal sector. And I believe this is not only, this is all throughout in Asia Pacific and also in Africa. One of the findings also is that women from marginalized communities need support to overcome social barriers that prevent their entry and sustenance in skills training and workforce. So we have heard time and again about women going to education programs, and when they come back, they get beaten up by their husband, or they are prevented by their families to attend education programs being implemented by community or by the government or by civil society. So there are many social barriers that have to be addressed before women can complete their education. And further, one finding also is that skills training for marginalized women need to go beyond just technical, and they should include life skills training like financial and legal literacy, use of technology, health education, communication, leadership skills, among others. We all know that marginalized women come from very difficult circumstances, so there are also many barriers that have to be overcome before they can even enter a skills training. And this is why we said it's not only to provide technical skills, but also for them to learn also and reflect on their lives and reflect on how they can address the gender barriers in their life. So these are just some of the findings that we have gathered from the case studies and research from the 4 countries and from the regional scoping that we have done. What are the recommendations? And I'm going to read through them again and later on give a concrete example of how these recommendations are actually operationalized. First recommendation is a clear gendered analysis must be incorporated within policy frameworks on skills for work. We have seen how governments invest in skills for work, but these skills for work are not gendered. They do not reach out to marginalized sectors. And in countries where women are the most marginalized, the programs do not reach out to them. They do not break gender stereotypes, but in effect, they also promote or even embed the gender stereotypes already happening in society. All skills training for women must include social empowerment and women's leadership development. Another recommendation is that funds allocated for more comprehensive training programs with flexible periods of time. This is one of the key recommendations of women, that because of their very busy workload, they have the programs need to be flexible. They have to be catered around their everyday life as well. And even the delivery methods should also be flexible learning strategies. They should not only be classroom type of programs. Social protection policies and conducive social infrastructure are needed to ensure a life of dignity for women and gender minority workers. So when we're talking of gender skills education, we're also talking of providing them skills, social protection and infrastructure. Because women have a lot of domestic work, they have to be supported for this so that they can even, think of joining skills education programs. The fourth recommendation is to implement education and skills development that breaks stereotypes related to gender, caste, religion, sexual orientation, disability, and other forms of marginalization. I think we all know that many of the skills development programs of governments are always, around gender stereotypes. So for example, we have seen how they promote women going into hygiene work or beauty and care. Although these are important, but women have to be provided programs that go beyond these gender stereotypes. One important factor that governments do not have in place is a gender disaggregated data system that monitors access, quality, and outcomes of skills training. which must be made available to all stakeholders and inform policy formulation and program development by the government. How can we target the most marginalized when we don't have data? This is one of the questions that we have encountered in our, or one of the findings that we have encountered in our research. And of course, because we're also talking of women's participation, not only in training, we also want women participating in governance. So one recommendation is to institutionalize mechanism for women's participation in education governance, in policy discussions that relate to women's issues and decision-making processes in the world of work and community. Therefore, we said that no matter how many skills development programs we implement, if the labor sector or the economic sector, economic sphere is not gender just, then it's very difficult to access or to make changes or to transform women's livelihoods and their lives. So this is the gender justice education approach that we are promoting in the platform. And there are 4 areas in this gender just skills education. We say that mere skills education does not bring sustainable change. The poor women or marginalized women need to be equipped with knowledge to interpret their context while learning new skills and taking control of their lives. So the gender justice education approach are around 4 areas. It means enabling access to opportunities for gender just skills education information. Where do they go? What kind of programs are available for women? Are there community learning centers? And so on. Because most of the time we noted that women do not go to programs because they have no information, or they do not have the knowledge, not only the knowledge, but also the confidence to go to these programs. The second part is transformative training and skills education. So plus, because we say it's not only skills development, but also looking at developing their knowledge of the on how to transform their lives and also how to transform their society. And I'm going to give more examples later on. And remunerative livelihoods with dignity. This is not only, I heard earlier, Lisa was talking about getting out of poverty. And this is really what we want in terms of decent work. It's not only providing small livelihoods, but really gender just skills education that will enable women to go out of poverty and live with dignity. So that is the outcome that we would like to see and transformation that we would like to work for. And of course, sustainability through individual upscaling and creating enabling environments, not only in education, but importantly in the labor market, in the economic sector, and also in the political spheres. So let me give you just one example of a social enterprise, a member of ASBE, and this is the Saka Cub. It provides safe and reliable transport for women, by women, and by creating livelihoods with dignity for resource-poor women. And the gender justice education is its framework. How does it operationalize gender just skills education? So this is the operationalization. So one, they provide gender just skills education in the community. So this is the first one, engaging the community, providing them with training community leaders, training men as change agents, and informing them about the non-traditional livelihoods. Rights within gender just skills education, and this includes providing transformative education, training for knowledge around driving. They provide training for professional licensed driving. They also provide technical communication and digital skills. They talked about gender and rights and other knowledge building. So it's not only around driving, but also they talk about security on the road. They also talk about self-defense. They also talk about how to maintain the cars that they are going to use, and so on and so forth. So that's gender just skills, rights within gender just skills education. And right through gender just skills education, so women are employed in decent remunerative livelihoods. This provide them opportunities for women in transport. Women in their program has provided them opportunities for women to be in public transport and for them to have new decent livelihoods, because some of the women were also able to develop their own livelihoods aside from driving. Rights to gender justice education also means sustaining the and working for gender sensitive markets. It's advocating for public infrastructure, doing monitoring on national and non-traditional livelihoods. It's also advocacy with the state and industry, and also marketing of women with wills. So that's part of rights to gender justice. And lastly, the framework also includes the right from gender just skills education, which means that women are empowered, they are able to control and challenge the gender inequality in society. They have more control of their money, their assets, they challenge oppression and violence, and they also work in changing patriarchy and in making their choices. This also includes intergenerational capacity building from the young women to their parents and also to the elders in the community. So this is the operationalization of gender just skills education, and we will share more of this in the platform. So as Jerome said, we would like to invite you to join us in the platform. Thank you so much. Over to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Thea. We have heard about the decent work for all in sustainable value chains, focused on decent work for all, but now in the craft subsector, before going to other subsectors later, and also gender just skills education for decent work. May we now go to our last platform, and we would like to introduce Albert Teo, who's actually part of the National Council and Board of ISEA, and he will be explaining our platform on technological innovations for sustainable development. Over to you, Albert.
Thank you, Lisa. Give me a few seconds to share my screen. Okay, very good afternoon, everybody. So I represent the fifth platform, which is on technological innovations for sustainable development. We are probably the youngest platform, and we are still at the infant stage. So for the coming year, we will be focused on learning as well as exchange of experiences and best practices. So we hope to curate a series of webinars and possibly online roundtables, inviting social enterprises that are technology driven and or innovation driven to share their experiences and best practices. So maybe today I would share with you a few tentative topical issues that we would probably like to cover in the coming year. In fact, most of these ideas were generated during our sub-plenary at the SEAL Asia conference recently. So one topical area that we will look at would be how do we encourage a community to adopt an innovation that has been created by a social enterprise? How do we get buy-in from the community? Does it mean that the social enterprise needs to first partner the community to co-create the innovation? So basically the social enterprise and the community working together to come up with the innovation. Secondly, do we have to be mindful that the innovation the social enterprise brings to the community, must it be aligned with the aspirations, the dreams of the community? Also, what needs are we targeting? What priority needs are there in a community that we are targeting with the innovation? Then another possible issue would be, can we harness the assets, the resources, the strengths of the community so that we can tap on these resources and strengths to help create the innovation, so that through the process of co-creation, the community gains empowerment. And so probably that co-creation process would need to harness the specific local assets and strengths of the community. So these are some ideas related to getting buy-in from the community. Then another area that we would like to look at would be frugal innovation. Innovation that is cheap to produce and to replicate. So for a frugal innovation to have a positive impact, especially on a grassroots community, we probably need to make sure that it is safe to use. So cheap doesn't mean unsafe. So safe to use, simple to use, and also we can swiftly implement the innovation. So you don't need to spend a lot of money for some elaborate setup. Immediately the community can make use of the innovation. Then of course, frugal innovation means it's affordable to the grassroots community. So in some cases, social enterprises actually also see the frugal innovation as a livelihood opportunity for the grassroots community members. So that means satisfied users of the innovation, they can actually be trained up to become micro entrepreneurs, and these happy users of the innovation can actually sell the product to their neighbors, to neighboring villages, to neighboring communities. And we could use a micro consignment model to encourage the local micro entrepreneurs to sell the product, and in the process to gain experience as micro entrepreneurs, and also very importantly to have a source of income, an additional source of income. Then another area that we hope to look at would be universal design. Universal design that is socially inclusive, that is disability friendly. So in order to curate universal designs that are impactful, we need to have a mindset shift. We need to see people with disabilities as people with different abilities. So ideally, when we want to curate a universal design, we need to bring on board the people with different abilities. So we partner them, we harness their strengths, their assets, and then together we co-curate designs that are socially inclusive. And to also tap on the larger community, we need to identify what are the relevant stakeholders. So the social enterprise will be like a connector, will be like a node, and we need to bring in the relevant stakeholders that have expertise and resources to share. And we can leverage their expertise and resources. So everybody coming together to come up with the universal design. The next area we will look at would be digital learning. So digital learning platforms have become more in demand in certain communities, especially now when we are talking about the new normal of COVID-19. So a lot of classes can no longer be held in the classroom. So a lot of schools, teachers have switched to online teaching. So this is where the digital learning platform can come in because the difference between a digital learning platform, which is either a smartphone-based or web-based platform, is the digital learning platform allows students to create their own content, knowledge content. So in that sense, the digital learning platform allows students to create their own expansive content. So by contrast, you look at the traditional textbook, the content of the textbook is fixed. So you see the advantage of a digital learning platform. Second advantage would be the digital learning platform allows students to engage in learning that is proactive. By contrast, in a traditional classroom, usually you have passive learning with the teacher teaching and the students listening. So as I mentioned earlier, in the new normal of COVID-19, digital learning platforms will become more and more important. And that also means that teachers and students also have to upskill themselves in IT. So IT upskilling would also be very much needed if we hope to tap on the potential of digital learning. Then another area that we hope to look at will be cross-sector collaboration, cross-sector partnerships. So a technology-driven or innovation-driven social enterprise could work with civil society to organize technology-based programs for the community. So through this collaboration, using technology initiatives, we could actually help to build up community resilience, and in the process, we contribute to social sustainability. Another possibility is the social enterprise can work with the corporate sector. So the social enterprise could come in to advise businesses, companies on how they can better invest in sustainable business models, sustainable products, sustainable designs. So through this collaboration, the businesses will be able to engage in corporate innovation and ultimately to contribute to environmental sustainability. The third possible area is the social enterprise could again work with civil society to help upskill the community. So digital upskilling, that would help to bridge the digital divide between the digital haves and the digital have-nots in the community. And this process of upskilling would help to build up economic sustainability. So the last area that we could possibly look at would be what happens when the innovation crosses cultural boundaries, international boundaries. What would the social enterprise need to be mindful of? So the social enterprise probably would have to adapt the innovation for different cultures, for different national contexts. Then, of course, all these socio-cultural issues would crop up and it would complicate the adoption of the innovation by different communities. Then if you're crossing international boundaries, it could become trickier because then you have to talk about protection of your intellectual property. Then you could talk about like maybe additional funding from the next country that you are bringing your innovation to. Then it could also be human resource issues. How do you manage the innovation in the next country? And also probably you need partnerships. Probably you want to license your innovation in the other country. So these are the various issues that we could look at in the coming year. And I would invite you, if you're interested in technological innovations, technology and innovation-driven social enterprises and the role that they can play in sustainable development, I would really hope that you could give us more ideas, additional topics, additional issues that we could discuss and learn from one another. So that's all I have to share today. So I'm handing you back to Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albert. As you can see, the Social and Technological Innovations platform that has been set up is really a cross-cutting platform. And if you've noticed, the different platforms are actually not mutually exclusive. No, they're all related, but they have a different focus. Yeah. So so after all those presentations, we only have 15 minutes for an open forum. Maybe much of what we can do is just to take on some of the questions that have come up in the chat box, and then maybe have a last word from each of the speakers. But at this point in time, it's important, I think, that those of you who are here with us, who are interested in any of the platforms, kindly write us to express your interest in joining the platforms, because we are recruiting constituencies for all the 5 platforms. So having said that, maybe we can start the open forum. There's a set of questions for Hario for the Health for All platform. Hario, from Richie Sampson, do you have any focus, or do you support senior citizens, and how do you do so in terms of access to healthcare and economic resources? No? But there's also a related question related to focus again. Does your Health for All platform include psychosocial and holistic interventions or psychosocial support? No? Hario?
Yeah, yes, Lisa. Thank you so much. Good question from Richie Sampson and also Santos Irana. Yes, we also have some programs and some clients from the elderly person, and we use both philanthropic funds, and also if they become our patient in our clinics and hospital, we have some programs for them as well. So this is some pictures that I want to show you. This is like an evacuation before a landslide in East Java, in a part of Indonesia. This elderly was trapped on the hill, but she couldn't go outside because she very weak. So that's why she cannot go anywhere to save herself. So that's why some of our volunteers try to evacuate them because her house have no access. So we couldn't go with the ambulance or motorcycles. So we evacuate her by volunteers. So yeah, this is one pictures of our community-based healthcare station. So this is like an elderly that was visited by one of our doctor. So we do have some curative and also disease prevention program for elderly in our health station, clinics, and hospital. And not only that, we have like some gatherings for the elderly persons. So this is one of the activities when they gather in our health station. So yeah, this is before COVID pictures. So so they didn't wear any mask. So yeah, this is some of activities, so they can do exercise together in our health station. And not only that, we invite them to do like a cultural performance because sometimes like elderly people, they want to still be seen as a productive as they can. So that's why we invite them not only for things, but if they can make any performance like cultural performance, I think that will help them to actualize themselves, and also that will make them happy, because happiness is a part of happiness can boost your immunity as well. So, and this is one of the economic empowerment program for elderly in one of our health station. Um, if we see some project that related to elderly people, we use very low maintenance gardening and farming project. So that's why one of them is the mushroom house project. So the idea is we give them, backlogs, mushroom backlogs, and because the mushroom backlogs is already have, the seeds of the mushroom, so this elderly is only like spraying the backlogs with water, with clean water, maintain the humidity of the mushroom house. And then maybe in 2 weeks until 1 month, like the mushroom will sprout out, and then when it comes bigger and bigger, so they can pick the mushroom and sell it to the community as a part of providing proteins for the community. I think one of mushroom house, they can produce about like 15 to 20 kilograms of mushroom every single day. So I think that become their income for elderly people, very low maintenance, and after like one period, 3 months, they can use some of the fund to buy the mushroom backlogs again, and that will be like a cycle. So they will have an income, and also they still productive in terms of economy, and also happy.
So maybe Haryo,
Yes.
because we're running out of time, we only have 7 minutes left. So if you can actually focus on if you do provide psychosocial or psychological holistic interventions, in addition to the medical interventions.
Yes, yes, we do. We do have. This is one of the psychological. During the gathering, we have games, psychosocial support for people, especially for people who got like a stroke or diabetes for a long time. So I think that this gathering is very important. And also, this is we call it bimbingan rohani pasien. How we invite some motivators on the religious aspect to support some of our patients that need some psychological support, or some pray. Maybe if the priest or people who can pray for them, that will give some support. I think that's all, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Haryo. I think you were very much prepared to deal with those questions with all those slides. Anyway, let's now move to another question that was shared by Mayan Mendoza. Maybe for Lanying, what would change the mindset of rural youth from being siphoned off for urban development, and what would prevent them from leaving agricultural development in rural areas? Lanying?
Yeah, I would speak from the Chinese context. I think the most important is then to have both the social economic activities in the rural areas being revalued. For example, in China now, the national policy focus on the rural revitalization. So this already support quite a number of people would like to go back to their hometowns, because there are some further investment fundings for youth to do the innovative innovative intervention as a social enterprise. So there's a policy support, national policy for rural revitalization. So this is the overall environment space to be conducive for people to go back. But more important is that people, especially the youth from rural areas, when they migrate to the cities for a living, and the city life, they feel after 10 years because of the economic crisis, because of the quality of life in the cities, and they would willing back to their hometowns because they still have a land in the rural areas. And especially the third group is more important, is then retired people who have their roots from the rural areas, and they would willing back to spend some more time in their hometown. And also the middle income families who have a better income, but they would like to have a different life, safer, quiet, quality food, safe food. And this is the group also willing to go back. So actually it's not us to prevent the rural youth going to the cities or migrate to other areas. It's the matter of the overall environment that we are creating, both from the policy level, but also the living styles promotion, or a kind of a living style people would like to choose becomes a little bit becomes a kind of fashion. Then you can get living as a simple life, but you can enjoy good food, enjoy good nature, and have a kind of working in the field is a kind of respected. It's kind of good life in that sense. So many people who still link with the urban life, but they do farm themselves. So what we call it for the younger generation to have a half farming, half eggs. Half farming, but that they will produce their own food, but the other eggs might be still working in the internet, or some work could be done through the computers, or not every day travel back to the cities. So so I think is the I think is the development path and this moment when we realize the unhealthy life in the cities, unsustainable jobs, and also the job security, and the rural areas life is kind of attractive for the young people. So what we would do is then to prepare these people who want to return back to the rural areas, but still still need to do the preparation. So we will provide experience sharing and experiential learning to visit this youth who have been returned to the rural areas, and to look at their life, and look at their family, look at their kind of life, the way of living in the rural areas. So that's what we are doing in China. So most important is that it is time when we look at the pandemic, rural areas is much safer than the cities. So there must be some percentage of people who would love to go to the rural areas. So what we call it, we are in the transitions. We call a new agriculture, new rural areas, and new farmers. So this new means that is kind of integration of the traditional farming with modern life, half farming for half X, or new agriculture is kind of applying new technologies to support in the marketing value chains. So the youth may not necessarily to do the farming, but they will partnership with the smallholder farmers to do the marketing, to help the marketing. So they are the kind of a partnership rather than buyer and sellers relations. This is kind of a common entity, common interest for the rural areas. And another importance that value the traditional culture, because in China now is kind of talking about eco-civilization, is more promoting kind of inner cultivation to understand as a person and human what's kind of living style you would, to care about yourself but also care about the society and care about the nature. So how you're being kind of contribute for solving the problem that we're facing. So this kind of cultural revitalization is another key that people will revalue the rural culture, the natural environment. It's not just kind of a production raw materials, but they bring for the health, bring for the education for the kids, bring for harmony of all the people living in that particular areas. So I think in China is kind of a trend, or is kind of a movement at a certain level, that there's 1,000 community support farms established near the big cities. But for the remote, poor areas, both government and social organizations, especially social enterprise, set up are through the internet marketing. And all the city people could buy the smallholder farmers' produce with the transportation system. Within 2 days, sometimes 1 day, you could get the produce from the farmers. So, so there's a lot of space for the youth to be involved, to be innovative in setting up a kind of social enterprise to serve the farmers, smallholder farmers, and solve the problem of what we're facing, unsustainable agriculture, but also food security and safety issues in China. So that's my response. I hope it's helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Nanying. And I think at this point it's already a little past 5, but please, I beg your indulgence. Stay with us for a few more minutes just to finish off the comments and questions that came in. Actually, there's a question for Albert that came in regarding how you involve and serve senior citizens in the technological innovations platform.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Richie. Or maybe it should be Samson. Okay. The question is about involving older adults. I think the same principle should apply. If we have intention to help a particular community, we need to hear their voices. So the community needs to partner the social enterprise or the social entrepreneur to co-develop or co-curate the solution. So only then can we ensure that the community would be enthusiastic about adopting the innovation, and also only then would the community buy into the idea. So I think the same principle applies. Community involvement, community participation, the voice of the community, and co-creation, co-curation. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. And there was actually a comment that was sent by Lina Green of Angels for Impact for the Decent Work for All in Sustainable Value Chains platform, because of your focus on women. And she was actually wanting to promote the fellowship that they are actually sponsoring for women-owned and women-led enterprises to actually interact with the two platforms. No, but I think we will just provide you with the emails in order for you to interact with them. At the same time, we actually already are 5 minutes after the end of the forum. There was also a comment from Arjun Batarai of Nepal, from the National Social Entrepreneurs Forum about the Social Enterprise Development Fund. Again, we actually commit to relate with you about the Social Enterprise Development Fund through email. And Gomer has sent you the web page of all the platforms. We have a dedicated web page for all the 5 platforms. So please visit our web page at the website of ISEA. And Gomer has also provided you the email because Gomer is actually part of the secretariat for assisting the platforms to generate the constituencies we need. No? So, but since we have already run out of time, we have had a very rich discussion, but I think it has just focused on introducing what the 5 platforms on the 5 platforms of social entrepreneurship, SDG platforms for building back fairer. And we hope that in the coming days, we can interact with you more through email and through our social media platforms. And we hope that this is just the beginning. So with that, thank you very much for participating in our webinar. And I'd like to give special thanks to Hario from Dompet Wafa for the Health for All platform presentation. The Thea Soriano of ASBE and Jerome Montemayor of WFTO Asia for the Decent Work for All in Sustainable Value Chains platform presentation. Lanying Zhang from Sources for Action China for the Rural Revitalization Youth and Social Entrepreneurship platform presentation. And of course, Albert Teo for the presentation on technological innovations for sustainable development. They are part of our lead organizations and lead personages for the platforms that we have launched. So we hope to interact with you more in the future. So with that, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to working with you towards building back fairer through any of the 5 platforms that you find resonance with. Thank you very much. And before we leave, may we ask everyone to just turn on your video for us to take a group picture. Gomer and Buds, can you facilitate the group picture, please? Yeah. So can you turn on our videos, please? So we can have a souvenir from this webinar. Buds, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. So can you take the video?
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, stay smiling because there's two slides for this. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, and look forward to working with you all. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Happy weekend.
Bye, Lisa.
Hi, Emilia. Thank you. Happy
Hello,
weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.